What I'm calling meditation is a way of simply understanding the mechanics of attention whereby you are denying yourself that unity of experience so much of the time. Many people think meditation is about changing the contents of consciousness. There's some contents you want to get rid of, like anxiety. Other contents you want to encourage, like calm and unconditional love, or some other classically pleasant pro-social emotion. And that's all fine. That's all possible. But the real wisdom of the 2,000-year-old wisdom of meditation that really is the chewy center of the Tootsie Pop is a recognition of what consciousness itself is always already like, regardless of the contents and the changes in contents. And this is why they're mutually compatible. Psychedelics and meditation for me are somewhat orthogonal, because psychedelics is all about making wholesale changes to the contents of consciousness. And there's some wonderful consequences of doing that. There can be some harrowing and terrifying consequences of doing that, but generally speaking, I think used wisely, they can be incredibly valuable, and the therapeutic potential there is enormous. But the crucial disjunction here is that there really is something to recognize about ordinary waking consciousness, the consciousness that's compatible with my driving a car to get here on time, right? You don't have to have the pyrotechnics of being on LSD to transcend the central illusion that I'm saying is the thing to be transcended, which is the sense that there is a duality between subject and object in every moment of experience. All of our different modes in ordinary life. The interesting thing is I think people are constantly losing their sense of self, and they're not aware of it. And I mean, there's probably an analogy to the visual system here, which is to visual saccade. So what happens with our, every time we move our eyes, this is called a saccade, and we do that about 3 times a second or so, just normally. There is the region of motor cortex that affects that movement sends what's called an efferent copy of that motor movement, which is used as information that propagates back to visual cortex that suppresses the data of vision while the eyes are moving. Because otherwise, if you weren't doing that, every time you moved your eyes, it would seem like the visual scene itself was lurching around. And people can experience this for themselves if they just, touch one of their eyeballs on the side, not all that hard, and kind of jiggle it, and then you can roll it around, you can jiggle it from side to side. You can see that a movement of the eyeball that's not governed by your ocular motor system delivers a jiggling of the world, because it's not, your brain is not anticipating it in the same way, and you're not producing that same predictive copy of the movement. People are having this suppression of vision 3 times a second on average, and they're not experiencing it, right? So you're effectively going blind, and you're not noticing it, and
it's very fast.
Yes, it's very fast. Now, there's an analogous suppression, I would say, of the sense of self that occurs every time attention gets absorbed significantly in its object, right? So like we even have this concept of losing yourself in your work, or you losing your. I mean, the classic flow experiences have this quality where there's, and this tends to be why they're so rewarding. Where there's just, if you're in some athletic activity, or an aesthetic one, or you could be having sex, or you could be whatever it is, some peak experience. Its peakness usually entails there being some brief period where there was no distance between you and the experience. Again, I think conflating meditation with a search for changes in the contents of consciousness. They're looking for much more subtle things to notice about the mind, or much vaster things to notice. Psychedelics sets up this expectation that you do a massive dose of mushrooms or LSD, and everything changes. I mean, you just get this full beatific vision. And you get not only visual changes, but emotional changes, and you get synesthesia, where you have much more mind in so many ways. So they begin you having these experiences or reading the mystical literature. You begin to think, okay, well then freedom is really elsewhere, or it's deep within. It's like it's not coincident with the ordinary awareness that can see this coffee cup clearly, and that can just transition attention to, reading an email, with the sort of full sobriety of just ordinary waking consciousness. But the truth is, this insight into selflessness, this insight into the non-duality of subject and object, is as close to ordinary consciousness as this insight into the optic blind spot. Like, where do you have to go to have this insight into the blind spot? No, you have to go anywhere. You just have to set up the experiment correctly, such that you can see the data, but the data is right on the surface. It's like it's almost too close to you to notice. I mean, if it's at all hard to notice, it's because it's so close, rather than it's deep within or far away. What I'm calling meditation is a way of simply understanding the mechanics of attention, whereby you are denying yourself that unity of experience so much of the time, and recognizing that that's it's based on a misperception of the way consciousness always already is.